What is up, guys? This is Brad from the Weekend Handyman channel. Today I'm going to be replacing my line voltage thermostat. This is a type of thermostat you would see on electric baseboard heat typically. This particular thermostat, getting started here, some thermostats will have a set screw, something like that, right at the bottom of the thermostat. This one actually just pops right off. It's pretty well painted to the wall. You might want to get, I'm going to repaint this wall anyway, but you might want to get a razor blade and actually score around if the wall has been painted poorly, actually. Nobody took the time to take the thermostat off the wall. So that's it. Cover comes off pretty easy. Like I said, sometimes you'll have a set screw at the bottom. You want to take a look for that. Keep an eye out. So the next thing is, now keep in mind you're dealing with line voltage here. This isn't typical low voltage thermostat. So you do have the risk of getting shocked. You're pretty much alright right here, but once you start pulling the cover off, you're getting close to the wires, and there's always that chance. So if you know where your breaker is for your electric heat, you should shut that off now. Typically you want to use either no contact voltage detector like this, or a voltmeter, multimeter. Keep in mind when you're using something like this, no contact, you always want to check a known power source first to make sure that the detector is actually working properly, because sometimes they don't. I've actually had this exact brand, I had to swap this out at Home Depot. This one completely stopped working on me one day. Luckily I didn't find that out the hard way because I actually checked first. So moving on, what I like to do, I haven't actually shut the breaker off yet on this one, because I like to check to see that I am showing that there's power there, so that when I shut the breaker off, I can be sure that I have, in fact, shut the right breaker off when my detector shows that there's no power. You can do it whatever way you want, personal preference. So I'm just taking out these two screws here that mount the thermostat to the wall. It's actually going to be inside a box because, again, we're dealing with line voltage here. So now you can see I've got my wires exposed for the thermostat. I'm just going to check here with my voltage detector. And you can see that wire is live. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down to the breaker panel, and I'm going to find the breaker that belongs to this particular heater. Okay, so after about, 12 times up and down the stairs, I did in fact identify the living room heat breaker right here. Everything is horribly labeled in this breaker. As you can see, this general area is heat. This general area is, who the hell knows, lights, I guess. Probably a few other things mixed in there. This breaker panel is pretty much a nightmare, but it's a good example of why you should always double and triple check what you're shutting off, and that you in fact have shut off all sources of power to your thermostat. So let's go back upstairs, and we're going to finish up changing out a thermostat. Okay, so now that we're back upstairs, I'm going to check again for power, and as you can see, everything's dead. I'll check down here at an outlet. Have power at the outlet. So that's not good enough for me. Because like I said, I don't really like the no contact voltage detectors. They're not bad for troubleshooting, but when it comes to whether there's power or not, where I'm going to stick my hands, I always like to double check with a real meter. So one thing I forgot to mention is when you're checking for power to begin with, it's a good idea to see what side is your line, which is your power coming from your breaker, and which side is your load, which is going to be your wires going to your actual heater. It's not necessarily that important, but actually this particular thermostat is wired backwards because it actually indicates line and load on the back of the thermostat. But, I mean, it's basically an open and closed switch, so it's sort of irrelevant. But anyway, it's a good idea to know where your power is coming from. All my power is in fact off. So I'm just going to start removing wire nuts here. Some of them, that one was very loose, of course. So basically, this particular thermostat, not all thermostats are the same, by the way. This particular thermostat is a 4-wire thermostat. It's basically got 2 switches in it. So it's opening and closing both of these whenever your room, drops in temp and it calls for heat. So some thermostats only switch one set of wires. It's only going to have 2 wires. Actually, I have one right over here. Now basically the way this thermostat works is you're just going to be switching your hot wire, so the wire supplying power, and then your neutral wire would actually just be, say, tied together, and it will run straight to the heater. So assuming this house is wired correctly, which is a big assumption, these 2 wires, what you would do is you would just tie those together because those would be your neutrals. Black is typically hot. And then these would end up switching through your thermostat. But since I have a 2-pole switch, that's what I'm going to wire in. Okay, so just kind of be a little more detailed here. I'm going to set my meter to continuity, which basically means if electricity has a path, say like a wire or a switch that's closed, which means it's allowing electricity to pass through it, my meter's going to beep. So basically I touch these 2 leads, it's beeping because there's a path straight through, right? So to show you how the thermostat works here, make sure you can actually see this. If I set the temperature, I'll just set it down to whatever, 55, doesn't matter. Between these 2 leads, you'll see that my meter is not beeping because there's no path for electricity to flow through. Right? But if I turn this up, which is simulating basically as if the room temperature dropped, so it wants to turn the heat on, and I check again, you can see that it's beeping. So it's allowing electricity to pass through from the brake panel to your heater. This particular switch has 2 separate switches for that, which is basically you're going to do, again, your neutral and your hot leads. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to wire, I guess it's not really specified on this thermostat, it really wouldn't matter anyway, but I'm going to wire my hot and neutral, one to one red, one to the other, which is going to be 1 to 1 switch, one to the other, and then I'm going to do the hot and neutral to the heaters, the load side. So it's important to keep your hot on one side and your neutral on the other. You don't want them crossing. So you wouldn't want, say, your line side hot coming in here and your line side neutral coming in here. Because again, check with the meter, they do have continuity, so that would be a direct short. So let's get this wire. a good idea to twist your wires together first. Actually, this is, unfortunately, I'm doing a stranded wire to solid core wire, but either way. You always want to yank on your wire nut. If you can't get it off, then you've made a good connection. So again, I'm going from white on my line side to white on my load side, all on the same side of the switch. You always want to twist your wires in the same direction that the wire nut goes, which can be clockwise, because otherwise you'll just be twisting it off when you attach the wire nut. Just going black to red, and then black to black. Again, yanking on the wire nut. If it's at all loose, then you've got a problem. Yes, I am reusing these wire nuts. You can probably find like 1,000 forums online of people debating whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. In my opinion, if I can't yank them off, then it's a good connection. Alright, so again, just double checking our work here. We've got power coming in on one side, black, hot, going in through the red. Switch closes, comes out through this black wire here. Again, goes to black, hot, to the heater, the load. Then on the other side, we have the neutral or common returning from the heater, going in through the switch, coming out the red wire, back through the white wire to the panel. So all that's left to do is pull this faceplate off. I'm going to screw the thermostat to the wall, and that's how you change a line voltage thermostat for electric baseboard heat. If this video has helped you out, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.